Great governance committee team. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we gather on today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the City Government Committee meeting today on the 11th of June 2024, and I declare this meeting open at 11:12 a.m. I would like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recording. We move on to attendance. We're all here. Mr. Mayor Raven is actually joining us from Teams today. He's not feeling very well, but I'm sure he's got plenty to do. Pete's down the back. He's keeping an eye on us as well. So thank you for that. I'm moving on to confirmation of previous committee meeting minutes. This is a new section, so please, councillors, there is now a motion displayed on the screen to confirm the previous minutes. That the minutes of the Governance Committee meeting held on, I can't remember, the 14th of May, some time ago, be confirmed. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Hall has moved. The motion, is there a seconder? Councillor Fraser. All those in favour, please raise your hands. And Mr. Mayor, can you show us your hand or? Oh, we can't seem to contact him presently, but that has been carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors. I move on to item 5, declarations of conflicts of interest. Please note that on page 28 of your 498, yes, we're hardworking in governance, page conference, is a declaration of conflicts of interest. That is for myself. This is for LIP funding for Beenleigh Tennis Court fence repairs. I presented to this committee. There is no report in this actual round of agenda, but I do need to declare it straight away. It is because of my relationship with Kerry Severin, and she is a board member currently on the Club Beenleigh board. I will be removing myself from that agenda item when it comes to governance, and it'll be for a LIP funding. So I just wanted to note that. I think that's all we have to do with regards to that, because there is no report on this committee round. It's just noting the declarable conflict of interest. So thank you, councillors. We now move on to the reports. We have 8 reports. Yeah, 8 reports today. But before we do that, we're going to go to the wonderful director, Kim Bryant, to see if anybody has any GB for Kim today. There being none, no. Kim, do you have? Oh, yes, Deputy Mayor Bannon.
Thank you, Sir Chair. I don't know if it's the right, but with the LIP money in a conflict, I'm confused at how you conflict on the local infrastructure money, because you're the one that actually puts the LIP form and sign it. So I'm confused on how you conflict that when the councillor, let's say if I put LIP money up, I'm nominating that money, I sign the LIP form. So how do you declare a conflict on LIP money? Sorry if it's the wrong place to bring it up.
Yes, and there is a better person than myself, councillor, to answer that question, and I'll invite them into the conversation now.
Thanks for the question through the chair, Councillor Bannon. So in relation to conflicts, I suppose it's not only in relation to the report or the matter that comes before council, but also in relation to any internal conversations that may occur, just making sure that there's no influence actually given to council officers to go a certain way in relation to a particular decision. So I feel in this particular case, Councillor Murphy's done the right thing by raising this, just so that you're aware of it. Obviously, when the report comes through, it will be a council decision in terms of adopting the LIP, but she's made the determination to declare I suppose, a conflict in relation to that matter, which is the councillor's prerogative.
I have Councillor Lane, then Councillor Herremeier. I just want to clarify. So the club contacted me. I've handed that information over to the team. There is funding available, but I will not take any debate or any involvement in regards to that decision, and then I'll come back to council for my fellow councillors to decide whether that funding will go through to them or not, because I have that declarable conflict of interest. So I have Councillor Lane, then Councillor Herremeier.
Thanks. So just a quick question to you, Madam Chair. So there's been no involvement by your office in this processing of this request?
Other
By
than
your staff or by yourself?
No, that's correct. Other than an email coming through with the quote, which I vastly forwarded straight to the team, and then they've handled it from there. And Councillor Heremiah?
Thank you. So the usual process, at least in my experience with LIP funding, is that there's a quote or an idea, then the local councillor gets a form that details that project, the local councillor signs it, and that enables council officers to present it in a report with the knowledge that the local councillor at least preliminarily supports the idea, and then council makes the decision and votes on that funding allocation. When a councillor has a conflict of interest and doesn't fill out the form, how do council officers handle whether or not to bring that idea into committee?
Councillor Heremiah, in this case, I've just handed it all over. I dare say that form may come back to me to sign. However, I have not been given that information as yet before it comes to committee, because we have to declare our conflict of interest as soon as we are aware that we will have one and bring it to committee. But I'll let Robert also answer.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Question directed to the Director.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Heremiah. So in relation to LIP, the way the policy and guideline is constructed, the determination of the projects that come forward in the report is meant to be a two-way conversation between the divisional councillor and council officers. Council officers will also always review a project based on its merits in terms of priority to that particular area, and that they would do probably nothing different in this particular case. They would look at the request, determine, I suppose, the priority of that particular request for this particular organisation, and put it on the LIP form and report that comes through for council's determination. So I don't see, from a council officer's perspective, the process would be overly different, other than the fact that it would ultimately be up to council's determination in this case, based on the fact that the divisional councillor has declared a conflict.
Did that answer your question, Councillor Heremiah? Yep, thank you. Any further questions with regards to that? Okay, thank you. Did you have any GB for us at all, Ms Bryant?
Not today, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you and have a wonderful day. Thank you. Councillors, we've got 8 reports on the agenda today, so we'll move on to 6.1, which is the Invest Logan shareholder report. It is a public report with a confidential attachment. I'm going to hand over to Robert unless anybody else wants to go into confidential. No? I'll hand over to you, Robert.
Thank you. Through the chair, I know we're not in confidential. The actual report from Invest Logan, which is their update for Q3, is a confidential attachment. So really just can confine my remarks to the public-facing report. As is publicly available information, Council resolved in March 2023 to move to a orderly cessation and deregistration of Council's beneficial enterprise Invest Logan. Since that time, Council officers and the board and IL management have been working tirelessly to agree business cessation agreement and the transfer of a number of properties from Invest Logan back to council. I'm happy to report that business cessation agreement and those property transfer agreements have been signed. So we are on track for the deregistration of Invest Logan early in the 24-25 financial year. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Robert. Councillor Bradley, you have a question?
Happy to move it.
If there's no further questions, Councillor Bradley has moved the motion that is displayed on the board. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Jackson has seconded the motion. Can I, by a way of show of hands, see who is in favour, or raise your hand? And I don't know what's happening with the Mayor. He is on Teams, but we don't seem to be able to get his vote at this stage. So that hasn't been carried. I'll go around the room. Please, Councillor Bradley.
For.
Lane.
Against.
Russell.
For.
St Leger.
For.
Jackson.
For.
Paul.
For.
Fraser.
For.
Heremiah.
For.
Bannon.
For.
Stemp. 4. Wilcox. 4. And myself, I'm 4. I'm not sure with regards to the Mayor. Are you there, Mr Mayor? Are you voting for the report for Hogan? Can you just put your hand up if you are for? Yep, thank you. Thank you, that has been carried. Councillors, we're moving on to item 6.2, the Audit and Risk Committee, April for 2024. Ms Anita White, you're speaking to the report today. Thank you. Can you please enter the discussions? Oh, sorry. Yes. Councillors, this report has a confidential attachments. Do anybody wish to move into confidential at all? No. Ms White, please proceed.
Thank you, and through the chair, good morning, councillors. Item 6.2 is the report following on from the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 24th of April 2024. The Audit and Risk Committee welcomed new members in April. They included Councillors Hall and Jeremiah, and also Kerry Phillips as an independent financial experience expert to the board. She has experience as a local government CFO and on other ARC committees. The Queensland Audit Office has also provided feedback that they're impressed with the balance of skills on our ARC, so I think that's an excellent step forward. In terms of the purpose of this report, it is to provide a written report on the outcome of the 24 April meeting, and for the first time this includes a report from the chairperson, which is at confidential attachment 2. It is to provide an update to Council about the recent independent review that was undertaken, including the proposed actions in response to the recommendations, and you'll find those at confidential attachment 4. But it's also to present an updated Audit and Risk Committee charter for adoption by Council. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Councillors, is there any questions available? No? Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you to Jacob and Tony for taking on the audit and risk this term. It is a big job and you've got a lot of meetings to attend. And welcome to Kerry Phillips as well, that is joining from, taking over from Denise. Last time I sat on that board. Do we have a mover for the motion? Councillor Jeremiah has moved the motion and Councillor Hall has seconded. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Noting Councillor Lane is just out of the room. And Mr Mayor, could you please let us know? 4. Thank you very much. That has been carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 6.3 is Council to the Chief Executive Officer Delegation Annual Review, June 2024. Over to you, Ms Anita White.
Thank you, and through the chair, councillors, those that were here last term will remember that we underwent a significant review of delegations in 2022. You'll recall from your induction that delegations are one of the primary mechanisms in council by which day-to-day decisions are operationalised. There is a requirement under Section 275 of the Local Government Act that those delegations be reviewed annually, and this report constitutes that annual review. It is my branch's responsibility for the 400 pages of documentation included in this report. However, what I can advise is that the majority of the amendments in this report arise because of amendments made to legislation in the areas of environmental protection, the Public Health Act, the Waste Reduction and Recycling, and Work Health and Safety. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions, councillors? No? Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. I'm happy to move it, and if you could pass on sincere thanks to the staff member who did that awesome work.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. 400 pages odd. Yes, thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Jackson has seconded the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Mr Mayor, are you there? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. That ends the reports for the corporate governance managers. Does anybody have any GB? Do you have any for us?
Not today, thank
Excellent.
you.
Have a great day. Thank you very much. Moving along to 6.4, which is now the Local Infrastructure Program. It's a public report, and Margaret Barnett is going to enter into our discussions. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. The purpose of item 6.4 is to endorse expenditure under the local infrastructure program. This month, there are 4 new projects which fall under the LIP policy and guidelines. And additionally, in attachment 2, there's an amendment to an existing project. Happy to take any questions.
Councillors, do we have any questions? Councillor Wilcox?
Just a quick one in regards to the one that's amended being taken off. I'm not sure if this is a question for you or Councillor St Ledger. Just wondering if you're going to remove that one, have you got plans for something else? Because it was a big project, so I'm just wondering if that project will now not be finished, and that sort of thing.
Councillor St Ledger, did you want to enter the
Yeah,
discussion?
you're talking about the...
Stage 3.
Yeah, so, in a nutshell, that's a residential house right next door to the Logan Village Police Station. So it was programmed to be demolished and approximately 18 car parks put in there. Funding didn't allow for that car park to be finished completely either. So we are a services poor community there in Logan Village. As far as services to our community, infrastructure is expensive to build, and you can't just make it turn up overnight, as we all know. So at the moment, we're looking at other services we can put in there to benefit the community, rather than car parks which are readily available at the moment.
Councillor Bradley?
My question was going to be very similar to Councillor Wilcox. So now that you've said that, though, have you looked at other options for car parking? Because obviously asphalt does cost a lot of money, but there are other options that we used in Springwood Park, where the dog off leash now is. It was supposed to be a temporary thing, but there are definitely other options that are a lot cheaper.
Yeah, most definitely, but what's not cheaper is getting rid of infrastructure and building more infrastructure right now for the services that we need. So yeah, most definitely we need to look at the car parking in that area, but that whole plan needs to be looked at a little bit more deeply. So for right now, 18 car parks probably isn't as pressing as having some more services there. So
To elaborate, what sort of services, sorry?
we need community services there out in the community. So if you come out there and have a look, so we've got if you look at Yarrabilba, which is about 5k up the road, so we've got an average age of 25 there, and then we've got an average age of 55 down at Logan Village. So we need services for our communities as far...
I'm even more confused. So where is the LIP funding, where do you propose that 200 LIP funding to go?
Oh, that hasn't been put anywhere at the moment. That's just come back. So that hasn't been allocated anywhere. So it was just part of that project was stopped.
Through the chair, may I ask a question? I thought all funding had to be allocated and funded by the end of, like, per term. How does that sit? Like, you need to have a resolution to allow that money just to sit here, which was last term's money. Is that correct?
No, so what we have clarified, so through the chair, is that the LIP funding carries over from year to year and from term to term. Councillor Bradley, it does, yes, that's right. So what's happened in this particular case is just an adjustment's been made to this particular project that was previously approved by council. That money will go back into the LIP funding for Division 4 to be reallocated to another project.
That clarifies it for me.
Thank you.
And
Councillor...
I did clarify all that before it was made, so it wasn't like a knee-jerk thing and then have to go and make sure that money was spent within the short time frame either. So we wanted to make sure we're getting the best outcomes for the community out there.
Thank you, Councillor St Ledger. Councillor Lane, you had a question? Thank you.
I did. It's for the divisional councillor. So just when you say infrastructure, you mean you're saving a piece of property that a community group can situate itself into. Is that correct?
Couldn't have said it better myself, Councillor Lane. That's exactly 100%
Again,
correct.
3 cheers for you. Good on you.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? There being none, do I have a mover for the report, please? Councillor Lane, followed by Deputy Mayor Bannon. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That is being carried unanimous, including Mr Mayor that's on Teams. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item 6.5, which is the monthly financial performance report, April 2024. Please take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This report doesn't reflect the second budget amendment due to the timing of the endorsement of that amendment. However, the operating surplus year to date at the end of April was 21.16 million, so 16 million over budget. 2 additional risks have been added in since reporting in March, and one of those is the requirement to carry funding over to 24-25 for Logan Plan due to delays arising from the state's updates to the SEQ regional plan, and also there is some the financial assistance grant may not be received this financial year. We usually receive an advance payment in June for the following year, but we are unlikely to be receiving that. Revenue is tracking above budget by 30.3 million, with the variance primarily due to private works within Logan Water and internal cost recoveries for plant hire. Fees and charges do remain above budget as a result of the demand in building and construction sectors. Commercial waste revenue is also higher than expected. Operating expenditure is above budget by 13.78 million as at 30th of April, again with the main contributors being bulk water and private works, for which revenue is also received. Employee costs are seeing a 0% variance across the whole organisation. The April report details a financial update for all capital projects. Capital expenditure is below budget by 63.6 million or 18%, but we would see that variance decrease when the second amendment is reflected in the report. You may notice that the value of interest-free arrangements has increased in the rates section of the report, and that's mainly due to the first month of every quarter being slightly higher due to the new levy. Happy to take questions.
Thank you. Councillors, is there any questions? Do I have a mover for the report? Deputy Mayor Bannon has moved the report. Is there a seconder? Councillor Stemp has moved it, seconded. All those in favour, please raise your hands. And that has been carried unanimously, including Mr Mayor, who's on Teams. Thank you so much. Do we have any general business for the Acting Finance Manager? No? Do you have any for us?
Not today, thank you.
Thank you very much for attending. Thank you so much. Councillors, we'll move on to item 6.6, which is the final report for the Plants Fleet Services Branch Service Review. It's a bit of a mouthful this morning. I have got Ms Kay Sullivan, who is going to talk to the report. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning, councillors. So 6.6 is the final report for PFS and their service review. Just as a reminder to councillors, one of the main outcomes of service reviews is to develop a service catalogue. We will be amalgamating all of those service catalogues into a consolidated list of services for council. And this is a really important activity to undertake because it allows us to map our services to our financial ledgers and ultimately allows us to be really clear on what business we are in and what our current cost to serve is. For PFS as well, what I'm really pleased to report on is we have a very doable business improvement roadmap, which has clearly defined deliverables and timeframes. I want to just raise with councillors as a reminder as well, we still have some outstanding actions to agree on what the services should be for council in the future and what the levels of service should be. And we need to actually, that's a council decision that needs to be made, and we need that to occur before our budgets can be rebuilt more holistically. Could I just also acknowledge as well, as I did in stage 1 and 2, it was a delight working with Tom and his branch, incredibly positive, enthusiastic and a great level of commitment there. So just wanted to acknowledge and pass on my appreciation there. Tom, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, thanks, Kay. Through the chair, I just want to recognise the significant efforts the branch has dedicated to this project while simultaneously managing a busy business. I want to express appreciation for the strong partnership that's formed with the EPMO and the EPMO team that has helped us deliver on this final two phases. I want to note that the Opportunities Roadmap is in place, which will assist in navigating through some of the identified process improvements going forward. And the 4 first priority initiatives have been pinpointed in the 24-25 branch business plan and will be an immediate area of concentration for the branch. Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Thank you, Kay and Thomas. Councillors, do we have any questions? Councillor Herrenmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the council officers for doing great work on this really important section of council. I do have a question regarding the guidelines and the standards of the documents that are being authored. I understand that a big goal is to create definitions for services, and I'm wanting to understand what governs the tangible level of text that has to be included when defining a service. For example, one service that is quite tangible and you can understand the activities associated with it is GC1, customer service. And in the service definition, it's set out as activities related to the service include frontline customer service, including various contact methods, payment and advice, and access to council services. That makes sense from reading this document that council provides a service that's frontline customer service. So they'd operate things like a front desk and provide different services like a phone call centre, things like that. There's other service definitions mentioned in this document that are a bit less tangible. One example is GC5, civic and democracy support, and that's defined as this service includes inspiring leadership, advocacy and public affairs, including councillor citizenship support and ceremonies. So I'm wanting to understand what document, what industry standard sets out the level of tangibility we have to apply when we're writing down what are the definition of the services that we provide.
Thank you for your question, Councillor. The service review process and the documentation here was actually modelled on the state government framework and definitions that they use. So we've adopted, didn't want to reinvent the wheel if we didn't have to, so we've adopted their service classification model. What we've also done though is as we're doing each of the service reviews from a consistency perspective, we're making sure that all of the services that we are documenting or the service activities have the same definition. So when we go to rebuild our budget and align those with our ledger, we'll be able to understand the cost to serve against all of the different classifications because we've applied them consistently across every branch.
Thank you. So we're using a standard that has been used by the state government, is that correct?
That is correct.
And when we mention ledgers, ledgers also use a standard, and these standards are used by governments, by corporates. But what's good about these accounting standards is that they're created and governed by independent bodies that have gone through the eras of past organisations and have built a rigid and quite smart standard to make sure that what's been put down can actually be used in the future. Is the standard that we're using that has been used by the state government, has it been authored by an independent third party or has it been authored by a government?
Are you referring to the standards for service reviews or for our financial standards?
Standards for service reviews.
I would have to take that question on notice. I don't know whether the service review model or standards was something that was built internally through the state or whether they got a consultant to build that for them. So I'll take that on notice.
Thank you. That would be great to have, and also some information on the name of the standard and some more detail around what is the standard that we're using would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herrenmeyer. Kay, you'll get back straight to Councillor Herrenmeyer. Thank you.
I will, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Councillor Bradley.
Yeah, excuse me, Chair, is it possible that we all receive that? Is that okay?
Thank you. Yes.
I'll add you onto that list, Councillor Bradley. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillors, we should have a motion up on the board. Do I have a mover for the motion for this report? Councillor Heremiah has moved it. Councillor Wilcox has seconded the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one for Kay is 6.7, which is a service review progress report, corporate property branch. Thank you, Thomas. Sorry. Please proceed, Kay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 6.7 is phase 1 and 2 for corporate property branch. I will be really brief with an update on this one. So phase 1 and 2 is about using the service model that we've just discussed to break down the detail under service categories, services and service activities. Based on the work that's been done to date, we've identified 3 service activities which have been documented and 17 business processes that will sit underneath that. As I mentioned in the previous report, there will need to be further work undertaken to determine levels of service so that we can then do a base budget rebuild. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kay. Councillor Lane, then Councillor Bradley. Councillor Lane, please proceed.
Thanks very much to you, Madam Chair. Hi, Kay, how you going? That's good. I was reading this and it was funny because I often go onto Seek and have a look at what jobs are available at council. And one of the first ones up was a corporate property manager. So in reading this report, I enjoyed reading it, but I don't have a clear understanding of exactly what it is that they're managing. How big is the scope of council's corporate property portfolio? And what the need is for a new property manager, what happened to the last one, that sort of thing. It's just interesting questions that run through my mind at a random, yeah.
So, Councillor, thank you for your question. There is a significant amount of collateral that's generated as part of each service review. And the answer to your question, one of the pieces of collateral that we actually develop is my branch does a lot of work in understanding the branches that they're working with moving forward. So it's called it's a bit of a buzzword, but it's called a placemat. And what we have for each branch is a placemat which talks about the size of the branch, its purpose, its vision, who its customers are, who it needs to work with from a relationship perspective, and the type of services that it's delivered. So that is actually developed for every single branch that we work with. It's literally their value proposition on a page.
I understand that, and I did the June Daly Watkins deportment course, so I understand placemats and place settings and things like that. What I don't understand, I passed it, by the way. What I don't understand is how do I get an idea of what's on that placemat from this report? I find it hard to make a decision when I don't know the actual extent of what you're reviewing, if that makes sense.
Again, thank you for the observation, and what I would be more than happy to do moving forward for phase 1 and 2 is include that as part of the report, so you've got the branch on a page there to be able to correlate with.
Councillor Lane, I think Robert wanted just to add to your question, if you don't mind. I did pass it. Oh, good. Excellent.
So through the chair, just wanted to fill in the blanks there. Brett McGrath, who was the corporate property manager, resigned his role with council. He decided to take his career in a different direction. I'm sure you'll be able to find him in LinkedIn. So he has left the organisation. Hence the need to recruit a replacement manager for corporate property branch. I have made, I didn't know if you've seen it in Seek, I did make a video. So I have tried to articulate in a very short video the nature of the role that we're trying to recruit for. So that's an endeavour to try and expand the pool of applicants for this particular position so they understand the nature of the branch, the nature of the role, and actually who they will be working with within Logan City Council.
Excellent. I think I'll go watch that video. Councillor Lane, did you want to add anything further? Thank you. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. My hand went up, Chair, when Kay referred to building up the budget or something, or the base budget, because obviously your role is to find savings for council, and my alarm bells went off in my head when I heard you referring to the budget. Does that necessarily mean an increase in budget, or what specifically were you referring to?
So one of the outcomes, so service reviews, Councillor Bradley, falls under our value for money program. Obviously the budget, and I do raise it frequently, which I'm mindful of. Obviously the budget will very much be a reflection of the services that we provide, will ultimately choose to provide, and the levels of service that we actually provide associated with those services. That is a council decision to make, and one of the implications of that decision very well could be if you choose to increase the level of service or provide a higher level of service, that could impact the budget in going up. If we choose to not continue to provide some services or to modify our levels of service, that could have an impact on the budget requirements reducing. So it's very much based on the decision that council ultimately makes around its service levels. Once we have the services and the service levels, that base budget rebuild is rebuilding the budget based on those agreed services and service levels, and understanding the cost to provide that service.
So, from what my understanding of what you just said, we will be making a decision on the level of service at some stage in the future. Is that correct?
Absolutely, we
and
will.
We will be given options?
Yes, you will. What we will need to do is work up the model that we have in place at the moment is a start-stop continue model. So when we come to council, what are the services that we need to start that we're maybe not delivering at the moment? What do we need to stop because what services are we potentially providing that we don't need to provide? And then what services do we need to continue to provide, and to what service level as well? And I don't like using this example, but it's the, a simple way of sort of framing it is, at the moment we have current levels of service around mowing, and it may be, 10 mows a year or something along those lines. We would look at options to go, is that the right level of service for our community? Do we potentially need to increase that in some circumstances, or decrease it? And what's the costs associated with those options and implications?
I am cautious from what you've said. I'm very concerned, and knowing what we have discussed so far in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillors, is there any further questions to be asked? Councillor Herrenmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question following up on that. It was a great example about just a hypothetical mowing situation. Once these service level reviews are complete, will it be a live document that will be continually updated throughout the life of council? For example, if council chooses to change their mowing contracts, will council officers then go back into some sort of system to update the service levels so we can constantly understand at any point in time what services are being provided, or is this an annual or point in time exercise?
Thank you for your question. It is actually a rolling program of work. So service reviews will need to be done on a continual basis. The schedule that we have in place at the moment is to move through all of the branches. It's going to take us about 2.5 years to systematically move through the branches. What's associated with the service reviews is that roadmap of business improvement opportunities. So what we want to ensure is that we're moving through service reviews as quickly as possible, but the branches also have the opportunity to implement those improvements and changes, and then we assess our current state based on that. But moving forward, you don't just do this once. This will be a rolling program of work for the organisation.
Thank you. And after those 2.5 years, during that rolling program, will the structure of the program change from focusing on one part of council at a time to instead putting the onus on the branches to keep the document updated? Or is it proposed that we'll continue focusing on one branch at a time?
So the decision to, if you're going to do this in the most efficient and effective way, you would do this as a big bang. So you would do all branches at once. So you've got, all the pieces on the table that you need to see. From a practical perspective, our organisation doesn't have the capacity, given everything else that we need to do that, which is why we're doing it as a staged rollout. Once we've moved through the 2.5 years, and as the branches are actually done, what the EPMO does as well is provide training and support to the branches for them to be able to implement their own improvement initiatives, and then also keep the service review documentation up to date based on any changes they have. The role of the EPMO then changes to a governance role, where we periodically go back and check that initiatives are moving forward, documentation is up to date, and any changes, to services actually follow the process and ultimately flow through to budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, up on the board is the motion for today. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Jackson has moved. Councillor Wilcox has seconded. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. On to our last report, which is 6.8, the Quarterly 3 2023-24 Digital Transformation Program update. Over to you, Kay. I do note that this is a confidential attachment to this report. Does anybody wish to go into confidential? No? Over to you, Kay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This report was structured in a certain way. I'm very mindful that we have two new councillors with us who haven't necessarily been on the digital transformation journey. So I took the opportunity through this report to provide a more holistic update, including some history, noting that the councillors weren't here, these two councillors weren't here for the adoption of the new business case in December 2023. What I would propose, given that the report is content heavy, is that we go through the slide pack that we have very briefly, and I'm happy to answer any questions after that.
So, councillors, we're going to go through the public slideshow because we're not in confidential. So if we'd like to proceed, that would be great. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Bradley?
I'm just curious if it's possible if the new councillors could just have a briefing on this rather than we go through the whole thing again.
Councillor St Ledger and Councillor Jackson, would you like to go through this report, or have you read this in your reports, or would you like a presentation right now, or would you like a individual report from Kay? Councillor Jackson or Councillor St Ledger?
I've had some meetings with Kay and happy with the report.
Happy with the report. Councillor St Ledger, you're fine with that as well? In the terms of saving us some time, Kay, are you happy with that? Because this, just for the record, this presentation is in our reports for councillors to have been able to read over the last few days. So that, moving forward, does any councillors have any questions at all? Councillor Russell and then Councillor Stemp.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask, is part of this presentation in the interest of transparency to the community so that they can see what's going on?
It's in the public documentation, so the public can access this through our website. Thank you. Councillor Stemp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I just wanted to check, just based on how the project's currently progressing, is it still expected to be delivered on budget? That's my question. Thank you.
It's a 4-year program of work, Councillor, and our forward estimates are that it will absolutely be delivered on budget based on what we know at this point in time, and that includes contingency.
Thank you. Councillors, is there any further questions? Okay, we might go to the motion on the board, please. Sorry, the girls are just Have to catch up a little here. So there's a motion on the board. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Jackson has moved it. Councillor Stamp has seconded the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Mr Mayor, that has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any general business for the Manager of Enterprise Portfolio Management Office? No? Councillor Bannon?
Thank you, through the chair. It's on a different note. I know everyone sort of moved on from all the flood stuff from the tornado, but I still get phone calls because it's still going. And I reckon once a week I'm getting a phone call from usually elderly people. They're in tears about how awesome a job that the team have done. I had one last week, which I always try and send it to you because, yeah, so it's still going on, the storm cleanup, and I'm still getting people crying about how good a job you're doing. So you're making me look really good. Appreciate it.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for that feedback. I appreciate you sending the information through. The team is very appreciative of receiving it, so thank you.
Hear, hear, Councillor Bannon. Kay, do you have any GB for us at all?
Nothing today, thank you.
Excellent. That finishes our reports. Does anybody have any general business for the Director, Robert? There being none, do you have any for us? Excellent. Look at that. We finished before 12 o'clock. I'm so pleased. So, councillors, that concludes today's agenda for today. I declare the governance meeting of the 11th of June concluded at 11:58 a.m. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you.